Hey, so I honestly did not want to upload another video because I feel like at this point it's probably not needed because of how bugged the patch is. Yet we're going to talk about something that is completely useful. It is bugged, and it has to do with the Treespear. If we head over here towards Stormhill, specifically the Stormhill Shack, we can then traverse over towards the north. Now, when you do go down this path, it should be quite familiar if you have went over here before, because you've probably played this game since it was released, or if you're a new player, then allow me to guide you through this. Because if you go towards the northwest, yes, you will pass by some enemies. Eventually, we will reach a broken bridge. We then want to go past the bridge so that we can then drop down. You should see the drop point here on the left side. Now, one thing to note is that there are some enemies along the way, yet they're not too powerful. Mostly it's just wolves, if not, I think it's only wolves. From my memory, I hardly ever go over here. We are going to continue towards the southwest. You can tell there is a hill here that we can then go up and then go towards the right. When you do go into this general direction, you will see those wolves eventually. Just go past them. You do not need to battle it out, honestly. They're 100% avoidable unless you... Of course, that is if you allow them to gang up on you. That can absolutely happen. Continuing towards the north here, you will see there's a bunch of wildlife. We have yet to reach those wolves that I've talked about. If we open up the map here, we want to continue forward towards the left here. We're pretty much just about halfway around the castle. You can see the other part of the broken bridge there. And we are going to continue towards the west. Here are the wolves coming up, and just again, run past them. Do not even mess with them. It's not a big issue. If you do end up knocked down, again, they're weak. They're not the most powerful enemies like the good old doggos. They're quite powerful. So now, around this corner, you are going to see a Lost Grace. You do want to claim that, because if you do not claim it, let's say that you mess up somehow jumping down, you will then have to travel back to this specific spot. We are going to then, of course, like I just mentioned, we're going to drop down. This is why we're claiming that Lost Grace, just in case you mess up. Jump on one tombstone to the next. Eventually, we will be on the bottom portion here. So now that I have officially reached the bottom here without dying, we are going to go towards the east. You will see on the right side that there's a carriage. You will want to take out the troll that was apparently carrying this carriage. He's going to be roaming around with the object, of course, pierced into his back there. We're going to go ahead, jump on top here, open up the chest that's actually on the carriage here, or in the carriage. You should see that you now have the Treespear. This is good news. What's interesting about the Treespear in patch 1.09.1, they've completely messed it up to where it now transfers over to unique skills, or even unique items such as the Ruined Greatsword, or even something like Blasphemous. And I'll show you a good example here in 1 second. We're going to exit out of the Lost Grace. Of course, I'm going to swap over to a different weapon here. For example, in this clip, I will be using the Ruined Greatsword. I'm going to apply the Ashes of War, or the unique skill, I should say. And you're going to see that the damage has been applied. It's about 200 there. So if I activate Sacred Order on the Treespear and then swap to a different weapon, in this case it will be the Ruined Greatsword, and you can tell that the buff has now been applied to this specific Greatsword, and you can use the skill and it does inflict extra damage. A complete wild bug, aka glitch going on, and you can apply this to the Envoy's Great Horn as well, and it actually has a really cool effect there from the middle, kind of going out of the pipe there. It's really, really wild. And this does, again, inflict extra damage. What I recommend, though, is that if you are going to be using this, don't use it in PvP. I know that some would highly disagree to that and would love to exploit something like this. What the heck am I saying here? And here's an example of what the damage looks like without the buff. Of course, I'm going to miss the first bubble there, but I will be able to hit him with the second one here. And you can tell that the damage is a little bit less than what it was typically before. And I'm going to inflict the same amount of strikes, and yeah, it's less damage. So, all in all, definitely worth using for PvE. Fun to use, and why not utilize it while it's still active? I'm sure this will be patched eventually, yet when will that be? Who knows? Because, of course, like I've mentioned in my previous video, it took them about 3.5 weeks for them to release the hotfix. So, really, we can only guess that it's going to take about that long, if not longer. I'm sure they're highly focused on other projects such as Armored Core, and of course they have the DLC coming out maybe this year, maybe next year. Honestly, nobody knows really, but I'm excited, and there's a lot to come with this. Honestly, experiment with it because you could probably enhance your builds a lot more than what it was prior. I have never used the Treespear ever, so this was a first for me. And if you want to think of something even more broken, if you apply this towards the good old Rivers of Blood, it does some good damage as well. This is without it being leveled up, so of course this is pretty much default damage here. Insane. It's absolutely insane. There's other things that you can, of course, apply to this. So if you're using Lord of Blood Exaltation Talisman, or even a Sacred Scorpion Charm, which I believe that one specifically does increase your faith damage. So there is that possibility that it can also buff that. What's interesting is that if you acquire the weapon from Mogwin's Dynasty Mausoleum, specifically the last boss there that's all the way at the top of the hill, if you use the Treespear skill and then swap over to the spear that you are able to acquire from that boss, you will then see that yes, it is applied, but the second that you use the skill, it will then disappear. So that's something interesting. There might be some weapons that are not going to be effective even if you use the skill or the Ashes of War. And hilarious enough, this does, of course, even work on spells. Yeah, bonkers, right? It's completely bonkers. I don't even understand how something like this is even possible. And again, we got to give credit to From Software. They're amazing devs over there. They do a great job in their games, but this has just been a very, very funky patch when it comes to spells, incantations, skills. It's just been a wild time. And even in my last video, I think I even briefly said that it was just a strange patch as well. And I'm going to continue to say this has been just strange since 1.09 to even 1.09.1. That's the current one now. It's just completely wild. And of course you can apply this to Blasphemous, as I've mentioned earlier, and even the good old greatsword that you're able to acquire from Radon. It's just insane that this is possible, and I just wanted to showcase this to you guys because I thought you guys might find this useful for PvE. Again, if you use it in PvP, I'm not sure if they're going to ban you. I highly doubt it because it does not break TOS. I believe using hacks, specifically mods, or anything along those lines, yeah, you're going to most likely be banned. It's just they're not accepting that type of behavior, but I think to some degree, they have allowed a lot of players out here that have AFK'd to continue to play, so I'm sure they will continuously allow people that use something like this to continue playing. I don't think anybody's going to be banned from it. That's just the unfortunate part about it. And with all that information being said, if you have not checked out my previous video, definitely do so. I talk about all the broken incantations that are dealing 0 damage, literally 0 damage. And most importantly, if you are new to the channel, either do 2 things. Let me know down below, or if you have a question about today's video, leave it down below as well. And if you're new, subscribe, turn on those notifications and all that good stuff. And with no doubt, I cannot end the video without thanking you guys that do come by every time to watch the videos, including the subscribers and you guys out there that are the members. I love you guys out there. Appreciate the love and support back. And I'll see you all in the next video.